Right, here we are back again on our Venom S Build, and we're going to do the next couple of sections now, which is fitting in the brake and fuel lines, and we're going to do some of the closure panels as well, particularly the scuttle panel, and we'll show where the grommets go in the front and rear bulkheads to be able to route the wiring through, which is going to be really the next big job after this. Okay? Okay, so we've dealt with, in the first video, the build-up of all the major mechanical parts onto the chassis, and we've added into that the steering column, the pedal box, and we've put in the gear change and the handbrake mechanism. So the next job that we need to tackle now is to fit in some of the plumbing. So that will be brake lines and fuel lines. And the next job after that is to put in the chassis closure panels and the windscreen wiper mechanism. We'll come back to that one a little bit later. So, just looking at this from a practical perspective, the fuel inlet line on this engine is on the near side, and the brake booster obviously is on the off side. So it would kind of make sense to run the fuel line down the near side chassis leg and the brake lines down the offside chassis leg. So that's what we're going to do. Now, this particular chassis has had a lot of attention paid to the lower chassis legs to make sure that there's a smooth and uninterrupted surface for mounting cables and pipes on. And there are no awkward cross braces in the way that we have to make little hoops over with the pipework. So first thing we'll do is we'll put the hard line for the brakes in, and we're going to put two T connectors onto the chassis first, one at the rear and one at the front, and then we're going to run the hard lines in. So I'll show how that's done. Okay, so we fitted our T-pieces to start with. This is the rear one, which is just on the back of the rearmost cross member, and it's going to allow us to run the line down the chassis leg towards the front of the car. And the second one we've located up here on the offside chassis leg. We're going to be able to take off into the brake master cylinder. Okay, so this shows along the lower chassis rail where we're running the brake line to the rear brakes. You can see everything's pinned in place. That runs out to the T connector at the rear, and then that comes up the chassis leg here, and it runs up there out to the top, and we'll have a little look at that. There. Okay, so this is a view of the brake pipes as they emerge into the engine compartment. So you can see we've got the rear brake pipe coming down here. It's coming from the back here. That goes into the master cylinder. And then we've got a short pipe that runs into this T-piece here, which we've located on the chassis leg. And then that pipe runs around. The pipe above it is the clutch hard line. Down here to here. We're going to terminate this here with a bracket and a bulkhead connector, and the flexi will come off this to run down into the brake caliper on the near side. So if we look on the off side now, let's say we've got our pipe that runs down to the T connector. From here we won't run any more hard line, we'll simply run the flexi, which is going to run over the top here down to the brake caliper that runs down into there. Okay, so there's the rear mounted T connector. So what we'll do in a similar vein, we'll run a flexi out here, and that will go over through the rear cross member out towards the brake caliper that sits up there, and we'll arrange some clips along here on the way just to keep everything nice and neat and tidy. Okay, so here you can see we've plumbed in the fuel line down the near side chassis rail, and just go over a little bit and see. Now we've pulled that up just to around the gearbox cross member there. Bolting them down the chassis legs, down there, and towards the front of the car. Okay, so we've fitted some brake lines in and fuel lines in. We've put some of the bulkhead panels on and the closure panels on the toe board, and we're now going to drill a hole round about here to insert the grommet to take the wiring out, which is going to come out and run down this chassis leg here on the front of the car. We've also put in some of the closure panels, so there's 2 fiberglass floor panels there that fit in on either side, and the wiring will run down this channel here. We'll just put some plastic channel over there, and the wiring will run through that up to the main wiring box, which is going to sit up ahead of the toe board panel up around this kind of area here. So we'll drill this hole for the grommet, and then we can see how that fits in. Right, so here we can see that we've fitted the main wiring harness grommet that we'd salvaged from the Jaguar. Well, that's into that front bulkhead there, and as I mentioned, the wiring's going to come out. It's going to come up down this chassis leg here, and it's going to run out over there, and that's going to go up to the headlamps and all the other ancillary bits and pieces that we need to do. Okay, so now we've got is loosely fitted the scuttle panel cover, and normally this would be bonded in place, but I've just sat it in place for the time being while we look at the next couple of sections. And what we'll do now is we'll just fit the little airbox intake which fits here, and then you can see how that goes together. Okay, so we've fitted the airbox in place now, and when the bonnet comes down it will seal onto this gap here, and that will be the air intake down into the heater unit. So the fan will sit just below this intake here on the other side of the bulkhead. Let's just sit and just see that. There you go. So the fan's going to sit in a unit that fits in here, and it will take its air intake in here. So there we go. Of course, the windscreen is going to frame is going to sit on this area here, so this will all be covered over. So we're not going to worry about any ingress of moisture or anything like that. Just a couple of bolts for that, and that sits on. That's it.